Resident Evil. The original Resident Evil introduces the core survival horror experience that defined the entire franchise. It takes place in the Spencer Mansion, where members of STARS uncover a biological nightmare caused by the Umbrella Corporation. Limited resources, fixed camera angles, and slow tension-heavy gameplay create a sense of fear that shaped the genre. Its importance lies in how it established survival horror mechanics and the basic lore of viral outbreaks that everything else builds on. The game has forever cemented its status as a masterpiece, an unrivaled foundation for the development of the video game horror industry. Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 expands the story beyond the mansion and into Raccoon City during a full-scale viral outbreak. Players follow Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield as they try to survive the chaos created by the T-virus spreading through the population. The game introduces a dual campaign structure, allowing two perspectives of the same disaster. It stands out for its stronger storytelling and larger world, showing how the outbreak affects an entire city instead of a single location. The unique A and B scenario system gave players incredible replayability and allowed them to piece together the full story like a captivating puzzle. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis focuses on Jill Valentine as she tries to escape Raccoon City while being relentlessly hunted by the Nemesis creature. The game is built around constant pressure, as the Nemesis can appear unexpectedly and force the player into combat or escape decisions. Its identity comes from the feeling of being chased throughout a collapsing city, raising the intensity compared to earlier entries. The introduction of dodge mechanics and a real-time action selection system made the gameplay incredibly dynamic and fresh. Resident Evil Code Veronica. Resident Evil Code. Veronica follows Claire Redfield and later Chris Redfield as they uncover more secrets of the Umbrella Corporation while trapped on a remote island facility. The story expands the global scope of the series, showing that the outbreak is not limited to one region. It also deepens the Redfield family storyline and introduces more advanced bioweapons, making the threat feel more structured and deliberate. The move to a fully 3D environment allowed for the creation of spectacular cinematic scenes that took the storytelling to a whole new level. Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 shifts the series into a more action-focused direction, while still keeping survival tension. Leon Kennedy is sent to rescue the president's daughter in a rural European village infected by the Las Plagas parasite. The over-the-shoulder camera and improved combat system completely change how the game feels. Its importance comes from redefining third-person action games while still maintaining horror elements through atmosphere and enemy design. The iconic case-based inventory system and the perfect balance of tension and action made this project a benchmark that is still emulated today. Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 continues the action-heavy direction and follows Chris Redfield and Shiva Alomar in Africa as they investigate a new bioweapon outbreak. The game emphasizes cooperative gameplay, where two players work together to survive enemy waves. While it reduces horror compared to earlier titles, it expands the global consequences of bioterrorism and shows how widespread the virus-related threats have become. The excellent implementation of co-op play and the rich arsenal gave fans some of the most fun and exciting hours of co-op gaming. Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6 presents multiple interconnected campaigns featuring Leon, Chris, Jake Muller, and Ada Wong during a worldwide bioterror crisis. The game mixes action, horror, and cinematic storytelling across different regions and outbreaks.
The outbreak is spreading
its
faster
structure is
than we
more
thought.
ambitious,
We have to
showing
evacuate
multiple
the city
perspectives
now.
of global collapse, even if the tone varies between campaigns. It represents the series at its most expansive and chaotic stage. An advanced movement and hand-to-hand combat system allowed for incredible spectacular stunts, making every encounter a truly epic Hollywood blockbuster. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Resident Evil 7. Biohazard returns to survival horror roots with a first-person perspective and a deeply personal story. Ethan Winters searches for his missing wife in a decaying plantation home filled with the Baker family, who are infected by a mysterious biological force. The game focuses heavily on atmosphere, isolation, and psychological fear. It redefined the series again by making horror intimate and grounded. An unprecedented level of detail and terrifying first-person realism made players feel true, blood-curdling fear anew. Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil Village continues Ethan Winters' story as he searches for his kidnapped daughter in a mysterious European village ruled by powerful mutant lords. The game blends gothic horror, action, and exploration, with each region offering different themes and enemies. It expands the lore of bioorganic weapons and connects Ethan's story more deeply to the broader franchise history. The colorful antagonists and the magnificent design of the fairy tale dark locations instantly captivated the community, giving the franchise new iconic characters. Resident Evil Revelations. Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield investigating a terrorist threat at sea. The game emphasizes survival horror again, with confined spaces and limited resources on a stranded ship. It bridges narrative gaps in the timeline while experimenting with episodic storytelling and tension-driven gameplay. The inclusion of the engaging raid mode adds immense replayability to the game and is a true boon for tactical shooter enthusiasts. Resident Evil Outbreak. Resident Evil Outbreak shows the Raccoon City outbreak from the perspective of ordinary civilians trying to survive. Unlike
Clear path
trained
this
agents,
way. Follow
these
me quickly.
characters rely on teamwork and improvisation to escape infection zones. The game highlights how the virus
Doors
affects
sealed.
everyday
Horde
people,
incoming, we need to
expanding the emotional scope of the outbreak
All
beyond
right, everyone stick
military
together.
and special
Head for the
forces
exit now.
responses. The game was far ahead of its time, offering an innovative online co-op experience that is still fondly remembered by dedicated fans of the series. Resident Evil Requiem. The next mainline entry in the Resident Evil series is positioned as a continuation of the modern storyline that follows the aftermath of the Winter Saga. It is framed around the idea of consequences rather than a fresh outbreak, focusing on what remains after years of biological experiments, viral incidents, and corporate control behind the scenes. Instead of starting a new isolated disaster, it is understood as a story built on everything that came before it. The tone suggested by the title points toward a darker, reflective direction, where survival horror is tied more to closure and emotional weight than pure escalation. It is expected to continue blending grounded survival gameplay with modern action elements, while keeping the focus on tension, limited safety, and unstable environments. Rather than introducing a completely separate world event, it likely connects back to the broader franchise history, including the legacy of bioorganic weapons and the long-term impact of earlier outbreaks. In that sense, it represents a stage of the series where the threat is no longer just spreading, but being confronted as something that has already reshaped the world.